It's time for the Onyx News. Extraterrestrials, time anomalies, dimensions, remote viewing, UFOs, UAPs, and USOs, ghostly encounters, abductions, Bigfoot, and more. Your end of the week news source for everything unexplained. Here is your host for the Onyx News Podcast, Margie K.
And thank you for joining me this evening. I have a special guest, so you're going to love this one tonight. I do want to remind you that our spring issue of Onyx Magazine is out in digital for free if you are a member of the Onyx Network. So just go to onyxnetwork.com if you haven't already done that, and you will receive the free issue. You can also get it in print at magcloud.com. And that is what this one looks like, this issue. I think it is our best yet. Over 60 pages. And of course, a feature article by our own Lee Spiegel, managing editor. Coming up this weekend, May 22nd to 25th, in Grafton, Illinois, is the Journey to Truth Conference. I will be speaking there, but so will a lot of other people, and on every subject that you can imagine. If it's weird, strange, unusual, it's at that conference. So please consider that. And then, of course, Exxon, mark your calendar now. In October, Kansas City, October 13th, 14th, and 15th, we have got a heck of a conference set up for you. I've just got all the speakers lined up, and you'll be finding out about that on June 1st. Tickets go on sale. My guest this evening is Ron James. He's a filmmaker, on-camera personality, writer, editor, researcher, content creator, and entrepreneur. He's also the director of media relations for MUFON. James is the co-founder of MUFON Television, an online TV channel boasting the world's largest collection of commercial-free UAP-related material. He's created 7 feature-length documentaries and dozens of original independent series episodes. His newest film, Accidental Truth, was released in March by 1091 Distribution. James has also been involved at the highest levels of production for musical acts such as Guns N' Roses, The Smashing Pumpkins, The Beach Boys, Earth, Wind and Fire, my favorite, Kendrick Lamar, and many more. He's won 19 national awards, including 4 EBE awards, the Telly Award, and the Aegis Award for Excellence in Broadcasting 4 times. He currently makes his own shows, including Bigger Questions, Spacetime, MUFON Presents, and more. He maintains his own independent production studio in Los Angeles. Welcome to the program, Ron.
Wow, that sounds like a lot of stuff. I should trim that down so it's not so hard to read.
You know, I honestly don't know how you have the time to do all of that.
It's, well, you know, I mean, I just turned 60, so I've had a few years. But, yeah, well, it starts from owning a production company and then doing things that you do to get paid. And then, you know, the whole UFO thing has been kind of a labor of love. So, but it takes the other work to keep paying the bills while you're working on stuff like this.
Oh, yes. So how did you get interested in UFOs?
I was hired to videotape and live stream an X conference back in DC years ago. I think it was 2006 or 7. And it was at that conference. I'd always been kind of interested in the field, and I quite some time before that had decided that I wanted to cover relevant topics in my media production and not just be, you know, making more TV shows and working for other production companies. So that's what I did. But the UFO topic, you know, you get close enough to it and you're like, holy crap, excuse me. This is it's the biggest lie perpetrated on humanity. And that was evident early on. And I've spent the last nearly 15, 20 years working on trying to do something about it.
Well, you're doing a good job. Now, before we get to your most current documentary film, what were your other documentaries?
I've made a few. I've done several in the life after death field. One called Dead Whisper, one called Ghost Asylum. I made some with David Hatcher Childress from Ancient Aliens. We did In Search of the Crystal Skulls, Mysterious Creatures of the Southwest. I've done some with Paul Davids. We did Marilyn Declassified about Marilyn Monroe. I was instrumental in the Travis documentary, Travis, the true story of Travis Walton. I did a lot of work on that with Jennifer Stein, but she gets credit for that. I was kind of a hired hand just helping out. And then I did my biggest UFO doc before this that wasn't just an ongoing series was the Disclosure Dialogues that I won the EBE Awards for in 2012. So that was the last time I released a UFO doc, but I've done a lot of shows and interviews and things like that. But as far as putting out a film that goes out like this is the first one since then.
How long does it take you to get a film from beginning to end to the public?
They're all different. This particular one was kind of floating around in the back of my mind. It really is my opus of my contribution to ufology. It's the fruits of literally almost 15 or so years of interviewing people, and literally 100 hard drives full of interviews, most of which have never been published. And then it was when I interviewed Lou Elizondo in 2018, and he slipped up a couple times and said things that he shouldn't have said. And I'm like, wait a minute, there's a whole film to build around this. This guy is literally admitting that there is an unacknowledged intelligence interacting with us, and he should know. And so that's one of the high points of the film. So it took me about 1.5 years to edit it. In the beginning, I didn't have Ralph Blumenthal, who broke the New York Times story, and I didn't have Gary Nolan, who is on the record as saying he studied some of these anomalous materials. And I didn't have Michio Kaku. And so it was after I already got the deal to make the film that I went after those guys and was lucky enough to get them. And also Congressman Tim Burchett. I didn't have him.
Well, the film, let me just show this. Okay, here is the poster for the film. What is Accidental Truth about?
Basically it's about, if you want to go back to the poster, I'll share some information about that with you.
Yeah.
The whole poster is vertical, but this is a horizontal version of it. And everything in this poster is symbolic. So the crash at the bottom and the man in black staring off is kind of symbolic of how the entire field of UFO secrecy started and was sequestered. And the guys in the hazmat suits are kind of symbolic of how, even though some of our civilization is closer to this subject than others, we're still very far away from fully understanding or even being able to interact. So the hazmat suits represent the distance between something, even though it's right in front of their face. The words when it's playing, these little drippy things, they're actually moving. And so the drips are what I call the slow drip of disclosure, and that's why they're there. And then if you look at the words itself, you see the word truth and denial are built into the Accidental Truth logo. And that's really what it's about, is truth and denial. And when you're denying the truth, sometimes that's a hard thing to get away with. The rainbow of color right above the spaceship is the transition of human consciousness into something bigger. And at the very top of the image, which is off to the sides here, you see this human form, and he's kind of deconstructing, he's disintegrating. And that is symbolic of what we're going to be facing as a civilization, when we really have to look at our place in the universe and realize that we're not alone, and realize that the reality that we're in is not what we think it is. That's the symbolism of that person at the top of the poster, who is just kind of looking down and he's falling apart. And so the whole movie poster is filled with symbolism. It's just like the movie.
I assume you designed that?
Yeah, I had a Photoshop guy help me out, Scott Nice. But yeah, it was a lot of the artwork came from me, the graphics and stuff I did, and we just worked together on the composite. But I spec'd it out and designed it.
Wow, I love the artwork, and I love the film. Do you think, I mean, it couldn't be released at a better time? the public seems to be very, very ready for this, and they're open to it. And we're just getting little drips of information, like you said, from the government, the military, who's saying, "Oh, well, that could be a giant mothership way, way out there. We could possibly be visited by aliens. These fast movers are something that's not ours." And so they're slowly admitting it. But this seems to be perfect timing. Did you time it that way on purpose?
No, actually, I got in a big fight with the distributor because they were supposed to put it out sooner. I was very concerned that the information in the movie might not be relevant by the time it finally saw the light of day.
Oh.
But it was supposed to come out at the end of 2022. Then it got bumped into Q1, and then it got bumped again. And there was a lot of tension over the release. But there's been a lot of tension over the whole production of the film. There were times when I really didn't think it was ever going to see the light of day. I felt like it was being sabotaged by a number of different forces that didn't want to see it out. And right up until the April 18th date, when I actually turned on my TV and saw it sitting there on Amazon, I was not convinced that that it was going to come out. I thought that something was going to happen. And it's still not over. There are some just very strange battles going on around this film. It's really hard to deal with.
So if somebody wants to get it, they should get it now, because
who knows how long it's going to be up there, honestly.
Right. And so they can get it at Amazon. Is there any other place you want to mention?
Yeah, all the places where you can rent a movie, like Vudu, Hulu, Apple TV, iTunes, Microsoft, Google Play, pretty much any place that you could want to rent a film, you can get it.
Okay.
When it first came out, some people went on IMDb, and that's one place where you can go and you can leave ratings just with an account, and you don't have to reveal who you are. Nobody had even seen the film yet. And I got hit with a hit squad of people that went on there and left it 1 star before anybody could ever even have seen it. So, that was and the purpose of that was that when it came out on Amazon, they used the IMDb star ratings before Amazon racks up enough reviews. So that was intended to put this thing out the gate with such a low star rating that nobody was going to watch it. And then the metadata release got messed up. The film's narrated by Matthew Modine, who is an A-list actor, and somebody in the distribution company sent the wrong information to all the platforms. So there wasn't even anything about Matthew Modine being involved in the film until we had to just fight like hell to get it fixed. And there's just been all kinds of things like that, intentional or accidental or some combination of all of it, that have hampered this release. And it's still doing very well because people are finding it. But it's definitely been a challenging road.
I saw a review on IMDb, and I thought, that's a plant. That absolutely. Have you ever been visited by Men in Black?
Well, I think while I was working on this, I was followed by a few of them, but they never knocked on the door.
Okay. They just let you know of their presence.
Yeah, I mean, it was mostly when I was in Las Vegas poking around Bigelow Aerospace. I had a couple interesting encounters.
Yeah, they do that when I'm doing UFO investigations on a big investigation. They make themselves very noticeable. But no, nobody's ever approached me either.
With the with being involved with MUFON, especially at the level that I am at this point, I wasn't always like that. We're in Washington, D.C. We're very active in what's happening politically. We're behind a lot of things that you've seen make bubble up to the headlines. And it would be silly to not understand that our organization is being watched all the time, and people in the organization are being watched. So it just goes with the territory.
Well, since you brought it up, what is going on with MUFON in Washington?
Well, we haven't been able to talk about it till now, and I'm glad that I can finally. We've been working with a lobbying firm called A10 Associates and a woman named Jessica Taco, who is just absolutely incredible. She owns the company. It's the largest woman-owned lobbying company in the world. And she is she knows everybody in DC. MUFON's been working with her to bring UFO awareness to members of Congress. And in the last year, a little bit more, we've had over 300 meetings with sitting members of Congress and their staff. And we were instrumental in getting that first UFO hearing done. We're the ones who kind of basically talked Andre Carson into doing it. They're working with Gillibrand and with Mike Gallagher to make that hearing happen. So, there's other people out there saying they had something to do with it, and maybe they did. I know what MUFON did. And then another notable achievement was the legislation that they just passed that calls for the military to take accountability for all of its UFO files going back to 1945. Mm-hmm. Initially, that legislation read going back to 1947. And MUFON fought to get that extra 2 years added on so that we had enough space around Roswell and some of the things that happened before Roswell. Because it would have gone back to 1947, then they could have said, well, that means back to the beginning of 1948 or the end of 1947. So it was a very important year. And so to have it get put into wording that could mar the ability to ask for that accountability, we thought that was really important. And so we were successful in getting that year changed to 1945. And that survived, and it's in the existing legislation now. And that was us that fought for that.
Well, that's good. I kind of wish it had gone back to 1940 because of the 1941 crash in Cape Girardeau, Missouri, which was huge. And, there's a lot of evidence to back it up. So, that was a big one that nobody knows about. Very few people know about. That would make a good film, as a matter of fact.
It would. So MUFON's been busy, and it's a great organization, and it's had its ups and downs over the years. It's certainly worth acknowledging, but they're stronger than ever right now. And the work that we're doing we're just truly at the top of our game. We have our own laboratories now. We have our own photo lab with state-of-the-art photo analysis software and hardware. We have the experiencer resource team, which is really there to serve experiencers in a way that no other organization can, because these are unique, often traumatized people. Mm-hmm. We have all the local stuff that happens. We have our own TV channel. We just released a map app so you can track UFO sightings in real time on your phone. And we just released our own social network. And then, of course, we just MUFON Television, which is separate from MUFON, but still partially owned by MUFON. We just made this movie. And MUFON's pretty busy.
Oh, yeah. And the biggest UFO organization in the world. The MUFON Lab, I do know something about since it's in Missouri.
Oh, yeah, you do, don't you?
Yep.
With Debbie
I know Lynn Mann very well. We've done cases together. She's great. She's worked on some of my cases and non-human prints. So
hey, it's a really cool little setup they have. The new one that they just finished is just really nice.
Debbie got that, is responsible for getting that set up.
Yes.
Debbie Ziegelmeyer. So tell us a little bit about MUFON TV. What is it? What kind of shows do you have?
Well, it's basically an archive of all of MUFON symposiums, but it's also got a lot of original shows that I actually make myself, Spacetime and Bigger Questions and MUFON Presents. And so there's all kinds of original, unique programming that we don't put out on YouTube or anything. So if you want to see them, you have to be a subscriber. And it comes with the second tier level of MUFON membership, so it's not expensive. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm focusing my energies as far as media right now, is just making MUFON TV better. Right now, it's already, I think, I can't say for sure because somebody will criticize me, but I think it's the largest repository of commercial-free UFO content that's out there. We've got about 700 videos at this point, so it's big. And getting bigger.
700 videos. Wow, that's a lot. Well, you're also the director of media relations for MUFON. So what does that mean? What do you do?
Well, that came later. When MUFON got its new director, Dave McDonald, we were talking, and he was actually very supportive of all the stuff that I've done with MUFON to try and bring it, forward in the world. And so they offered me the position of media relations director, and it's really fun because that means that when like Ancient Aliens wants to feature a MUFON case, they'll call me and I'll help them put the show together. And so it's basically working with media to make sure that MUFON's properly represented, and that if there's any business that needs to be done, helping with shows and that kind of thing, that we do it. And so that's what I do all the contracts and making sure that they have the material that they're looking for. So it's a fun job. So if and then I got to work in this episode of Ancient Aliens with Prometheus. They did a whole show about MUFON, and so I was able to work side by side with them to design a really good show. And I finally got my Ancient Aliens badge. It's like all my friends have been on that show, and I never have. And it kind of got to be a joke sometimes, but I finally got on the show, so I was pretty excited.
That's great. Do you know the name of that show so people can look it up?
Yeah, it's a few episodes back. It's called the MUFON Files.
Okay.
And it did, they did just an amazing job. And I was very, very happy with how MUFON was portrayed. Well,
MUFON is a great organization, and I've been involved since 1996 with them, and doing investigations since 2008, something like that.
It's pretty awesome.
There's a lot going on behind the scenes that people are not aware of,
and in many, many, many ways, yes.
Yeah, and it takes movies like yours to let the public know what's happening, because the media certainly is not going to follow it or report it. Have you noticed any change in the media in recent years as far as their attitudes goes towards UFOs?
Well, it's interesting. Like in 2017, when the whole thing exploded, there was a lot of media attention. And then it kind of started to blow hot and cold when even the New York Times would write a story one week about how, Harry Reid confessed to there being crash debris. And then the next week, oh, this is all our technology. So they're doing a good job of doing what they told from what they're told from what I can see. And what we're seeing playing out in the media, I believe, is an internal war over how much information is going to get out and how it's going to get out. And that's what Accidental Truth, that's what my movie is all about, is blowing away this new narrative, because what we're dealing with is an attempt to whitewash the past and erase that time frame in between Project Blue Book and when Bigelow's program started, which evolved into the program Lou was involved in. They want to just whitewash that whole thing and act like this just suddenly came to their attention. And Accidental Truth is kind of saying, hold on, wait a minute. No, you can't do that, because we know that you recovered materials and possibly even biology, and we know that you studied it, and we know that you've been looking at these new technologies, and you can't just erase all that and just act like you just came up with it. And so Accidental Truth is about proving, making the most compelling case ever for the fact that the government's been involved in UFOs with nonstop, and that they've discovered certain things that we're able to prove, literally.
Do you think there's been any change in attitude with the military?
It's interesting. People, I don't think, really understand what this whole thing is about. The way back when they decided that they were going to hush this thing up, and probably with a group like MJ-12 or maybe even MJ-12, some group was brought into place to manage the information, and they became further and further away from front-facing government, more and more entrenched in industry and compartmentalization, which everybody talks about, to the point where they're pretty much accountable to nobody, but they get a whole ton of money. And so that's been that aspect of it. Now the strategy, where the military is concerned, is keep the military non-interested in the subject. So when somebody says the military is not interested in UFOs, it's because largely that's by design. So they created this whole, if you see something, don't talk about it. You'll end up getting a psych eval. You might get your wings pulled. They created this whole mystique of ridicule within the military. We don't talk about UFOs. And that was by design, because that kept the front-facing military out of the issue. And that very, very few people in high up places probably understood that that's what was happening and why it was happening. And so the military is kind of changing its attitude in that, oh, we're going to let Navy pilots report UFOs now. And so they're becoming a little more involved in the topic, but I think only because they have to, because these things are being seen, and you just can't cover it up forever. So kicking and screaming the whole way, I think, would be the way to describe the military's sudden willingness to be interested.
Yeah. Okay, well, we are up on a break, and we'll be back right after these messages. Are you thinking about purchasing a wood-fired heating or cooking appliance but don't know where to start? The new book, Wood-Fired Heating and Cooking, will guide you through the process and make the decision much easier. Find out about wood stoves, wood-burning fireplace inserts, masonry heaters, cook stoves, brick ovens, and more. Learn about operation and maintenance, buying and storing wood, even how to make your own charcoal. A bonus section includes delicious recipes for cooking in a wood-burning oven, grill, tandoori oven, or smoker. The wise homeowner, prepper, or homesteader will have the ability to heat their home with wood when the power goes out, or to save money on increasing gas bills. Wood-Fired Heating and Cooking is available at Amazon. Visit www.woodfiredpub.com for more information. That's woodfiredpub.com. This is Margie Kay inviting you to check out the latest edition of Onyx News Magazine with thought-provoking articles about UFOs, extraterrestrials, cryptids, consciousness, and amazing photos of anomalous objects and more. And there's always a feature article by our managing editor, Lee Spiegel. Get a free digital issue with your free subscription to the Onyx Network, or get a printed copy with your X Club Gold subscription in the U.S. Visit onyxnetwork.com to see details. That's onyxnetwork.com. And we're back with the Onyx News. I'm your host, Margie Kay, and this evening my special guest is Ron James. He's a filmmaker. We're talking about his latest project, Accidental Truth. Ron, I could not get that trailer to upload to StreamYard. So how can people see the trailer?
Well, they can go to the website for the film, and they can order it, and they can order merch if they want. That would be accidentaltruths.com.
Okay.
I couldn't get Accidental Truth for some reason, so I had to settle for the one with the S, even though it's not the name of the movie. But it's accidentaltruths.com. And then if you Google Accidental Truth UFO, the trailer is one of the first things that comes up on YouTube. I mean, on Google search.
Okay. Got to see.
Is there a way to share screens?
Well, I've actually have tried that several times now. You're supposed to be able to share a screen. I don't see it here on my end.
I see something called presenting. Let's give it a try.
Presenting. I'll bet that's it.
Yeah, so I'm going to bring up the trailer.
Okay, you go ahead.
And let's see if it works. So
yeah,
we'll go down here
that'd be great, because this trailer is excellent.
Share screen. Okay, let's see if we get audio too.
See if you can get full screen.
The UFO reality can no longer be denied. In 2017, the New York Times broke a front page story about a shadowy government program.
Pentagon had this secret UFO monitoring agency which nobody knew about. So that's
Can you hear it?
I'll tell you.
Yes.
Oh, cool.
Instead of answers, we've been given a new narrative. The UAPs are not ours or any foreign governments.
Then the question is, whose are they?
You can ask the questions, but who are you going to ask them of? And you've got to make sure you're asking the right people.
There are many things that are out there in the ether that aren't officially brought to our attention.
How would it have to be officially brought to your attention? I'm bringing it to your attention.
Do you expect to see real answers in this report?
Honestly, I don't think so, Jake.
memorable quote in that is, technology not of this earth, not made by man.
That's a profound moment.
So have you studied classified materials, but you just don't have them?
I just shouldn't say anything more.
Individuals at the Pentagon confirmed the Roswell spacecraft is real.
It's a complete cover-up.
Some phenomena point to an interaction with consciousness.
Maybe the physical evolved from consciousness.
Life may exist in all sorts of forms. The question is, what's our definition of life?
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, that worked. Thank you, Ron. I love the trailer. I kind of love the dark aspect to it because there's always something behind the scenes. Out of everybody that you interviewed, did you ever get the feeling that they were holding back information?
Well, all of them. No, I'm kidding. Obviously, Lou holds back because he has to.
Yeah.
Chris Mellon holds back because he has to. Gary Nolan, you can see right there in the clip, he's holding back because he has to. So there was a lot of people. Anybody that knows, and we know they know. John Alexander was holding back, even though in the film this guy spills the beans about a lot of stuff that he has not publicly said before, and he's got his whole little section in the film where he will say something, and then I have this little thing that I had to do in the movie. You can tell me what you think of it. Every time somebody says something really candid or poignant, I have it fade to black, and I have this little noise like a drum beat, kind of like they did on that show Law and Order, just because without it, it's such an onslaught of information that you just can't take a breath. And so anytime something really important is said or stated, there's this little 3-second pause that just gives you just a second to absorb it before we go on to the next thing. And with Alexander, it's like he says something, bam, he says something, bam, so yes, obviously people are holding back if they're in a position to know, and they can't talk. And that was my job, was to get them to tell me things they didn't want me to know. And I state that in the beginning of the film. I think it's something I'm sitting in this room with people that have run secret weapons programs, managed closely guarded secrets, interrogated terrorists at Guantanamo, which Lou used to do. And all I can think about is getting them to tell me something they don't want me to know. And, that sounds kind of funny, but if you really think about it, it's pretty seriously scary.
Yeah, it is. And I like your special effects with that. You interviewed Edwin Mitchell, the astronaut.
Yeah, Edgar, before he passed away.
I'm sorry, Edgar. Yes. I interviewed him in 2012 on my show, and he would not talk about anything on the air, but when we were off the air, he said a few things. Yeah. But when we were on the air, he would not come out. He would only say, well, I've heard that there are some, maybe some evidence, maybe there's a craft somewhere, but I haven't seen anything. And I knew he was holding back. But I think you did a good job
to some stuff. And of course, he had the Wilson Davis memo. It's where it came from. So he was in on some serious discussions.
Sure he was. How many astronauts have reported seeing UFOs? Do you know?
Almost all of them.
Yeah.
Do they go out officially and stand in front of the media and say, "Oh yeah, they're flying outside the space shuttle"? No, but you hear the stories. And Gordon Cooper was one. Mm-hmm. There's an existing tape of astronauts telling NASA that they're being watched. It's like, I don't understand why it's still so easy to sweep all this under the rug. We just got the announcement, all these people forming these government study groups to look at UAPs, and NASA chimed in and said, "Oh yeah, we're going to look at UFOs too," like they haven't for 100
like they
years.
Never
it's
have.
Like, hello. So it's pretty ludicrous. It's getting laughable, honestly. It's almost like when they did the Roswell case closed, and basically explained it away as crash dummies that fell through time. It's so ludicrous. It was like an admission to a lie. It's the only way you can accept that. If you look what the Air Force said, it's such a ridiculous story that if you're really paying attention, they're actually telling you, yeah, this whole story that we're telling you right now is a lie. And we're making it so obvious that if you analyze it, you'll figure it out.
I spoke with a NASA employee a few years ago who used to work at NASA, and he said he was watching on screen the space shuttle opening up and ETs going into it, and then having some kind of conversation with the astronauts. You hear a story like that, and you have to believe that NASA has been involved in this from the beginning.
Yeah, although I haven't heard that one before.
I think Mike
it seemed like it
Clelland
would make
said
more
that.
sense to work on, have the meetings on Earth, but you never know.
It would. Apparently, the ET was very big, very big, and so probably wouldn't have. I don't know. See him walking around here, that might have been freaked people out a little bit.
Oh yeah, and it's probably a good thing that he didn't eat the astronauts.
Oh yeah, yeah, it probably is. Oh gosh.
So let's talk about the movie. Was there any particular part that you thought was your favorite?
Well, gosh, just the interviews and people being honest and not so afraid to come forward and talk. I mean, I know they're holding back still, but they're loosening up. Let's say that, they're loosening up a bit, and you can just feel that it's in the air. And I mean, UFO investigators feel it because people who are having sightings are having big sightings now. They're not just a little light in the sky. They're close craft, and there's military craft coming in and chasing them. We're working on a huge case right now with 7 military aircraft that came in to chase a UFO. And it's just seems to me getting crazier and crazier. And
well, that's why this has to come out. You can't keep the obvious under wraps for too much longer. And I think as our technology evolves, their technology evolves to keep up with it. So the craft that you might have seen 100 years ago or 500 years ago, probably not the exact same craft. They're evolving their technology just like we are. And so there's going to come a point where you just can't deny these things anymore. They're going to be all over the place, and they're going to be seen by a lot of people. And sooner or later, something's going to happen where we have an encounter, whether we try to shoot one down or, who knows, or one lands and they reveal themselves. It's just not a secret that is easily kept at this point in time. And so they're trying to figure out how do we tell the public something, but how do we do it in such a way that we don't have to take accountability for all those bad things we've been doing all these years to keep it a secret? Keeping advanced technology from humanity, especially something that could save us or help us or give us free energy or any number of things, that's borderlines on a crime against humanity. And somebody's got to be accountable for that, and nobody wants to be.
Well, yeah, there's been a lot going on behind the scenes that we don't know about for years and years. Eisenhower was supposed to have met with at least one, probably 2 ETs or more.
And that's an interesting story. We don't know if it's true or not. There seems to be some evidence. But one of the things about Accidental Truth is we didn't put anything in there that we couldn't make a case for. And not just a case of, well, somebody said it. Where by cross-referencing official government disclosures with the words that people are saying, and then connecting the dots there, and then cross-referencing actual historical data, we're able to put together a very solid case. And the Debrief magazine called it the best case yet for crash retrievals or non-human intelligence. And I tried to make this film as if I was an attorney putting on this case in front of a jury. And the case is, not only to prove that there's, something to this, but also to be able to point to specific examples that can be researched and borne out to be true. the origins of some of the materials, the isotopic ratios of other materials that are studied that make them impossible to create on Earth. These are all indisputable facts. And so that's what this film is all about. You get so many UFO films and they start off really good, and then all of a sudden they're off in la la land, and they're making wild claims and wild statements that can't be backed up. And audiences love it because there's a certain audience out there that just wants to believe everything, and they'll watch these movies and they like the sensationalism. But at the end of the day, I've made as close to a factual documentary about UFOs as we're going to get. And so it's earning its place in history as literally a historical document in the form of a video.
Yeah, that's probably the thing that I like most about the film is that every part of it is credible, and you can check the facts, and that's important. There are too many films out there. What I don't like is a movie about somebody's experiences, because someone else, they might take a book that's a true story about things, and then they're going to embellish it and change it. For instance, the Travis Walton Fire in the Sky thing,
Mm-hmm. Oh boy, did they botch that movie. I've talked to Travis a lot about that film because he stayed at my house and we've hung out. He really he said it's a net positive, but he wasn't really super happy. Some director got a hold of that and was like, all of a sudden we had steampunk aliens and Travis is wrapped in rubber, and it's just like bizarre.
And
it didn't happen that way.
No, it didn't happen. And now he thinks that they actually took him to try to help him and heal him because of, he got in the way of the UFO and got blasted. So,
well, think about it. And I've had that discussion with him also. I think that actually makes sense. There's probably a lot of different types of species doing work here. And then even within some species, there's different details, different crews. So these guys were not an abduction crew that was out abducting people. They were probably off in the woods taking biological samples or something, and Travis got in the way and accidentally got zapped. And so they took it upon themselves to try to fix him. It's a very rare and unique story inside ufology because there aren't other stories out there of this kind of thing and these kind of beings doing what they did with Travis. So the idea that he was in the wrong place at the wrong time and they injured him and then they decided that they were going to try to rectify it. I think that's what makes Travis's case unique, obviously.
That makes more sense, because if they wanted to hurt him, they would have kept him, or he would have just been disappeared forever.
Yeah, or just, zapped on the ground.
Yeah. So that does make sense. Now, let's talk about healing aliens for a minute. In any of your interviews, did people say that they've been healed by extraterrestrials?
I've interviewed people that have said that. I didn't put any of that in the movie because we just wanted to cover the experiencer phenomenon again with, straight up the middle things that we can actually make a case for. But yeah, I mean, Elizabeth April told me a lot of very interesting things about her experiences. And, a lot of, I don't know what the general attitude toward her is by the ufology community, but she is part of a new generation of experiencers that take these happenings for granted and have helped shape who they are. So, there's stories of healings. There's stories of you being taken on the ship and taught. I think that, if people are here and they're doing their missions, what if that's something they can do? What if they can take you up to the ship and patch you up a little bit? It's like, that's why Mick Jagger's still going strong at 80. Somebody's been working on him.
Yeah, they're taking him up to the med beds.
Yeah.
I actually
probably not, but well, maybe, I don't know.
I know some people who think that has happened to them. I
can't rule it out. It's like I have a lot of stuff that lives in my gray box. It's the most full box of the three. There's the black box where you just say that's absolute, BS. I'm not going to give it another minute's thought, and you throw it away immediately. Then you have the white box of, okay, I think I've looked at this and I think that I can put it in my credible file. And then you got the gray box that's full of all the stuff that you haven't made up your mind about, or you don't want to make up your mind about it. or or you don't know enough to make up your mind. So the gray box is very, very full for all of us.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, what about the consciousness aspect of this? Do you think that consciousness plays a role in the person's experience?
Well, one thing that I believe, and I pointed out a little bit in the movie, but not maybe as much as I should have, is that we don't understand the nature of our reality at all. We're seeing a very limited spectrum of colors. We're hearing a very limited spectrum of sounds. The matter that we're touching, this table, this computer screen, all this stuff, none of it's actually real. It's scientifically accepted that this is energy vibrating at a certain frequency, and that somehow our brains are wired to interpret it and deliver to us this 3D experience, which, whether you subscribe to simulation theory or not, that's what it is. It's like you don't even have to debate it. Just if you take the most rudimentary understandings of science, universe that is governed by simple algorithms, pi, the Fibonacci sequence, pretty much makes the whole thing click and turn. So that's a mathematical formula running a illusionary reality. So what is that? That's a simulation. So if you think about all of these different possibilities, it doesn't have to be any one of anything. Is it little green men from Zeta Reticuli, or is it some kind of beings that travel through dimensions, or is it time travelers, or is it beings that have been here all along inside the earth? It could be all of the above. And it's teaching us about the flexible nature of our reality. And we're learning, yes, what you said about we have consensus reality. We all agree we're living here on planet Earth. We all agree that water is wet and sky is blue and grass is green and feels good on your feet or whatever. But then we also have subjective reality, where a whole lot of what we're experiencing can be unique to us. And so unraveling these mysteries is going to teach us more about the whole nature of who we are and why we're here than any of the questions about, well, where are they from? They're not from here, they're from there. And people fighting about this kind of stuff. They're missing the bigger question.
Exactly. And in my opinion, their whole key is the person's level of consciousness and awareness, and what kind of an experience they have, and who they contact. So one day we'll get into that more. What do you think about people who say they've been abducted and they think that they've taken their astral body out but left their physical behind? Have you interviewed anybody about something like that?
I haven't interviewed anybody personally because I don't get that involved with the experience or research team. They're very specialized, and a lot of people that are experiencers, they value their privacy, and they find it very, very hard to talk about their experiences. Rather, they've been, dangerous and shocking, or even, kind and gentle. When I'm doing conferences, I'm approached by people at the MUFON booth all the time, and I can tell the experiencers before they even open their mouths. There's a look about them, there's a sense about them, and you can just feel it and see it. And so I haven't heard about that particular phenomenon from anybody in person. I've certainly heard stories that it's possible, but then that's kind of scary. I mean, that's like soul stealing aliens. So, it's like we have all these different types that all want something different from us. And I think there might be a lot of truth to that. So it's just another thing to add to the plate.
Just seems to be something that I'm running into more and more often. 10 years ago, nobody would have talked about it.
Well, if an astral body is the soul, the spirit, the essence of who we are, the energetic framework of our consciousness, then if they took that, then there wouldn't be anybody to come back and tell us about it. So it'd be interesting to look into that deeper.
Yes, indeed. That's another film.
It's another film.
Yeah.
See you back on the show in 10 years.
Let me give you a list of films I want you to make, Ron.
That happens.
It would be nice.
People do that. No, the next one I'm going to do is probably a life after death film, and then I'm going to
Okay.
do one about simulation theory and the nature of reality. I don't know if I have anything more to add to the conversation about UFOs. I mean, I think I pretty much said it. I've left you guys with no room left. You know, there might have been a little bit of air between the wall of finally having to admit that these things exist and that they're probably non-human and that we're not alone. There was a little bit of air there where they could still beat around the bush and not say it. But Accidental Truth puts everybody against the wall. There's no more room. You got nowhere else to go except to give us the next level of truth. And that's what that film is about. It sucks all it's leaving these guys with nothing left to just pussyfoot around about.
Well, it's a most excellent film. I hope everybody will watch it. It's available at Amazon and almost anywhere. If you just Google it, you'll find it.
Yeah, just look for
sure.
search Accidental Truth UFO, or just go to your Amazon Prime and put it in. You'll find it.
Okay.
Or you can go to accidentaltruths.com and it has the link. Hey, let me ask you something, Margie. Are you actually on your computer right now?
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna show you something really, really sad. In fact, I'll do it for you and I'll present it.
Okay.
People have stolen our poster art, and now if you search Accidental Truth T-shirt, I'll go ahead and pull this off and show you.
Okay.
Hundreds of places have stolen our work and are selling T-shirts with our logo on it. And
well, your artwork is too good.
None of them are authorized to do it.
Wow.
But they're doing it. And you know, the thing is, see, look at this. Isn't this insane? Can you see this?
Okay. Nobody buy these.
There's one place to get the real Accidental Truth T-shirts, and that's at the accidentaltruths.com site. Every one of the T-shirts that come from that website, I make myself. I bought a machine to make T-shirts, and they're all handmade by me. And so it's all these people that just have ripped off the design and are selling it. It's shocking, but it's everywhere.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean,
I suppose they're out of the country, so you can't sue them.
Well, you know, the thing is right now, I think maybe it's good for the film, but you know, at some point we want to sell the real stuff. And
my goodness.
Yeah,
okay, well, I'll tell everybody. We'll warn them about that. Do not buy anything unless it's from the accidentaltruths.com.
Yeah, it's not like we're charging people a bunch of money. And the proceeds from the sales of our merchandise is going to help pay these guys help the guys in Ukraine replace their computers, because they lost their computers because of Russian missile attacks. Let me just show people the website real quick, if you don't mind.
Okay. Let me
so you can go here. This is accidentaltruths.com. It ends up inside of MUFON TV. You can watch the trailer right here. You can click on any one of these links to rent the movie. And here's some of the awards that we've won. We're up to 11 now. I have to change the graphic. This is the artwork that people have stolen. There's some bonus feature videos. And then here's some of the merch. We have the mouse pads, coffee cups. I have 200 autographed posters from Matthew Modine and myself, and those are available. And we have our T-shirts, which is a really nice.
I want a poster.
T-shirt. Very, very nice T-shirts. And you can only get them, the real shirts, from us. Here's John Alexander holding up an Accidental Truth T-shirt. That's a MasterCard moment right there.
Yeah, indeed.
So anyways, that was not shameless self-promotion. I just encourage the audience, if you're interested in any of the merchandise, don't support these thieves that are doing what they're doing.
Well, the thieves are out there, so beware. Thank you so much for coming on the program today,
Thank you,
Ron.
for having me.
I appreciate it. It's a great film. Everybody go out and watch it. Get it, buy it, watch it, rent it, whatever you got to do. I think it's the best UFO film documentary ever made.
Can I quote you on that?
You can quote me. I am not kidding. Never said that.
Deal. That is a big
I have
deal.
never said that. All right, folks. Thank you, Ron. We'll see you soon. And thank you, everybody, for spending another evening with me here at the Onyx Network. See you again here next week.